think I'm a klutzy, or it's like, maybe I am. That's cool.
Was there any added layer of pressure at that time because you were kind of positioned, and still are, but early in your career were positioned as this like creative genius, like
Prodigy kids.
Prodigy.
Sort of
Yeah. Was there added layer of pressure to perform in that show where Quincy and Herbie are like, here's the guy. Like, here he is.
I think so. I think there was an amount of that. It's funny. I've been sort of cited as a Prodigy kid for like a lot of my life. Like from way earlier than YouTube and all of that. It was kind of like, oh, Jacob, the kid who can blah, blah, blah. I think it's a label that's quite a tidy way of people understanding you. It's, in a sense, it's quite an impersonal thing to tell someone. Like, oh my God, you're such a genius. That like, there's no bridge there. You can't meet a person if they're a genius. It's like kicking them up into the sky and be like, you can just be up there. I'm going to be here. But it's far harder to meet someone where they are and say, you are a flawed human being, just like me. And you also have this big world of yours. And I respect that.
Yeah.
That's like, to call someone a genius or a prodigy is to kind of write them off as outside your understanding, beyond your understanding. But the thing that a lot of creative people actually require to grow, like any good plant, is to be really like seen and understood. And to say so someone's a genius is to say, I refuse to try and understand you. You're just outside my reach.
I refuse to understand you. You're just outside my reach. Jacob Collier says it perfectly. He has already been labeled as the Mozart of Gen Z, the prodigy, the bringing of brand new music and ways of looking at things, to genius, to expert on emotional intelligence. You name it, Jacob Collier has received that label already, which means the ego has taken him and the beauty and the representation of spirit that he truly is, and has placed him in a box that is so far unobtainable from where we are at that we don't even take the opportunity to see that, in fact, Jacob is just a mirror of yourself, my friend. Welcome back to another Through the Lens. Today is all things Jacob Collier, and to be honest with you, this is the beginning of a beautiful series. I don't know about you, but if you have not looked up Jacob Collier, I highly recommend you do. And I caution you when you do as well, because immediately your ego mind is going to want to place him on a pedestal that is unobtainable for you, and he must have some secret sauce, or he got the genes, or he's that guy that's going to change things, and you are not. Because when you really begin to dig into Jacob and you listen to him, you actually see that he's living at the purest form. He's living where truth and authenticity exists, which is completely outside of what you call common sense, completely outside of all of the restraints and restrictions we have created for ourselves. So strap yourself in. Again, today's Through the Lens is all things Jacob Collier, and it is just the beginning. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. First question, friends. Have you ever listened to a podcast or music or just been in an interaction with someone and you're at the verge of tears the moment you like get into their presence or you begin to hear that? If you raise your hand, great. If you don't, you felt it, you're just not recognizing it. But essentially, that was me this morning in the gym, and every time I turn on Jacob Collier, and what that truly is, I believe, is a spirit connection. When someone is authentically speaking from spirit, and you are receiving it as spirit, is when you just feel this immense love and connection, because we are one. And that is what Jacob really represents. I mean, he is constantly talking about collaboration and not following the rules and just creating these massive pieces of artwork that has people categorizing him as something extraterrestrial. My friend actually said the other day, I said, he's amazing, isn't he? And she's like, the only words I can use, which are only held for a select few, are out of this world. I'm here to tell you, you are just as out of this world as Jacob. Yes, Jacob may have talents at the level of form that you do not have, but the reason I believe that his talents have produced this amazing I don't even know what you call amazing connection with spirit. Like he has found notes in between notes. And we like to say like that is where this Holy Spirit is. That is where God's voice is in between the notes. It's in the places that we have not created this structure and rule, but the places that allow for whatever to come through. And that's all of us. We all have that capability to remember that. Jacob talks about, so this is a clip from an interview with Colin and Samir, which I believe was like about a month ago. And it's like 2.5 hours. It's so beautiful. I really recommend that you tune into it. But it's interesting. You watch that because even Colin and Samir at points attempt to get Jacob boxed in on goals and dreams and values, and want Jacob to say how important those were to like him creating what he has created, because that's what we believe you need, right? We believe we've been trained to always think that if you don't have dreams and goals and values, then you have no direction. But that's exactly what Jacob is telling us, is like remove that direction. He doesn't dismiss Colin and Samir. He doesn't tell them they're wrong, because it's all a part of this journey of us unwinding the mind and remembering truth. And that's where they happen to be right now. But he does not allow himself to be pigeonholed into that. Instead, he's like, yeah, those are great, but don't place any weight on them. Don't put any focus on them, because the second you enter into somewhere like I talk about, you have pigeonholed yourself and you have not opened yourself up to the opportunities and what exists outside of you. But the funny thing is, Jacob says that like he's telling us constantly. He's like, don't label, don't create a box. That is how I've gotten to where I am. So he's telling you the secret sauce, which is really like live in spirit. He also says, when you think, like he talks about, and I'm not going to have his words exact, and we'll dive deeper into an episode about this later, but he talks really about what we call the I know mind in A Course in Miracles. He talks about like you don't know anything. It's about feeling, and when you use your ears, you cannot connect the way you can when you use your connection of like feeling, of emotion. And that is really, I believe, where spirit works through us, is through this internal like dropping into your heart, feeling from your heart, allowing yourself to be guided. He says he reminds himself it's not about understanding it, but it's about following it. And his album Jesse Volume 4, that was really what he did in that album. He says it was really about like the hardest thing he's ever done, because there was no constraints, there was no vision, there was nothing. It just was. He just allowed himself to, when he wanted to understand, to not understand it, and to just follow the guidance. And what I think the guidance is, my words would be spirit, would be that connection. And we talk about that connection and collaboration are so important. And Jacob like has it. That's what he does. Like he's not about making himself bigger as the lowercase self, but instead he's about utilizing his gifts to remind the larger self of all of our gifts. You know, that's why I think him being amazing at melodies, and if I get any musical terms wrong, I apologize. I am not an expert at music. I love singing, and most people would tell me they would please do not sing, right? I just think it's this beautiful form of expression. But anyway, the melodies, like how better of an opportunity to help someone else see their potential, understand their beauty by bringing in a melody. That I've seen some videos that he's done when people were able to help fund his album, where you're like, oh, okay, that's me. You know, that's what I was seeing, a reflection of me. Like, where if I would have sent in a video, I've been like, this is amazing. And then people would have watched it and they'd be like, she should not quit her day job. She shouldn't even do this as a part-time job. But then he comes in with these melodies, and it is like the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. He is here to be the mirror. He is here to be the witness of the miracles, and he always is talking about that. He doesn't say, I'm here to witness the miracles. These are my words, but he talks about how he's not here to decide who Jacob is. He's here to create space for the Jacob to come forward, which to me is he's here to remove the barriers from love, and then allow love to come forward, which is spirit, which is connection, which is collaboration. And that is what Jacob is always doing. And in that album, he just allowed the love and spirit to just guide, and for him to never try to understand, because the second we try to understand something, we have entered into the ego mind. And that's literally what we've done with Jacob. Oh my gosh, it's so just interesting to see how this beautiful opportunity to see what is possible. And I'm not talking about we're all going to become famous musicians or anything, but just how Jacob approaches life, right? Like, take the music out. The way he approaches music is also how he approaches life. And how you do one thing is how you do all things. So it's a beautiful representation of that. Like, when you are doing work on capital self, it influences everything, right? And we know spirit will use our gifts, use the things that bring us joy and happiness to spread the message, to help the whole, to be that extension of love. And we see that with Jacob. Like, his love is music and collaboration and just creating together. And the spirit is using that and literally is moving people. And Jacob talks about that. His mission is not to reach as many people as possible. He acknowledges reach is great. That's another beautiful thing about Jacob, is like, he never dismisses. He never concretely says bad or good, although there is a moment in regards to someone, and we'll cover that video later. But he's just really like, you guys, remove the rules, remove the barriers. And that's exactly what we do to him. We're like, all right, we got this guy. He's a music genius. Let's place him on this pedestal in this box. Let's put him in the front of masterminds about emotional intelligence. And we got to categorize him, because the ego, the last thing the ego wants you to realize, first of all, is he has all the answers. If you just start living life in the manner that Jacob is sharing, you will become the genius that Jacob is yourself, because that's what you already are. You just have these barriers in the way. But the ego wants you to believe that it is so unobtainable. The fear, right? The fear around, like, how could someone actually do this? And that's what happens with Colin and Samir. It's so beautiful, and no shame to them or heaviness on them. I just noticed it, that even them being so open and allowing Jacob to express, and them being beautiful creatives as well. I don't know much about them, but they seem like very beautiful individuals that are open and really hold space. But Jacob talking about no rules, no this, no that, just like throw it all out the window pretty much, and just allow yourself to be guided. They started to constrict, and and all of a sudden that's where goals and dreams came in. They had to reach, they had to grasp for something, because Jacob has to have something in the future that he's moving towards. Otherwise, like, everything we've been taught in this illusion is not real. But that's the key. Jacob's not living in the illusion of fear or ego. Jacob is truly living. He is a living extension of spirit, right? We're either extending or we're projecting our shame and guilt out. And Jacob is just extending. So he doesn't need future. Yes, he talks about, sometimes he comes up with these like, oh, maybe I'll look like this, or maybe I'll look like that. But it's never concrete, and he doesn't allow it to like pigeonhole him. I'm guessing even having those small ideas does restrict how much spirit can move him. But it's not to the extent that we're all used to, right? Like, make a goal, make a dream. This is what I want my future to look like. And you work towards it, right? Retirement, making $1 million, building an empire, all those things we're always constantly working towards, creating a family, having a baby, getting married. Like, these are all things that actually limit spirit, that actually limit your potential from coming through, because you've already created your own knowingness of what it should look like, when in fact you have no idea and never will know what it should or should not look like. You will never know what is best or not best for you. You will never know anything. And that's what Jacob really says. And there's even a brought in about values, like, because he kind of teeters on the goals and the dreams. And so then they're like, what about values? That gives you then your motivation every single day. And Jacob doesn't go big into it. He acknowledges, yeah, values are great. And then he just talks about, again, like any moment you bring in a story or you bring in some sort of something, it limits you. But it's just so amazing to see how even these people who are trying to allow Jacob out of the box, who are creatives, still, it's so uncomfortable. Like, that is the most uncomfortable place to be. But it's the place where like limitless possibilities live. It is the place spirit is and love is. And we see that Jacob has just really had this opportunity to like be raised in a cultivating environment that didn't stifle that. I feel like children are so beautiful when it comes to that. And actually Jacob says, what I always say is like, we should be learning from children. You know, children are the wisest or not, like they know the most about truth out of all of us. It is their curiosity and wonder and where we are trying to get without any sort of absolutes. And that's what Jacob really lives in every single day. Oh my gosh, I could go on about Jacob for hours. And I will tell you, at the beginning, when he came into my awareness, I immediately, felt that movement. He moves people, but I felt this movement of spirit just by hearing his voice, not even singing. And I was like, oh, that's what I used to call soul dance party. But essentially it's my spirit dance party. It's like when I know I have found a quote unquote my people. That's what Jacob says. And when you're really living in your authenticity like Jacob is and truly coming from a place of spirit, it's this magnetism to those that are meant to find you, meant to see you as the lighthouse that you are being, to see the mirror that you are reflecting back to them. And right now I feel like Jacob is a massive mirror for me. And at first I found that he was coming to St. Pete, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get tickets. And we did, and totally spirit led. We got front row seats, dirt cheap, PS. So I'm so excited to attend that and come bring with you what that in-person experience is. But then I was like thinking about reaching out to him because I would love to have a conversation with him. And I had to check my ego at the door because for a moment it shifted into like this pedestal he's been placed on, right? Of like him being this genius, living a way that is unobtainable. And I was like, whoa. We have already removed that. I just want ego, first of all, step aside, and spirit. I want to connect, and whatever that connection looks like will be led by spirit in the process. But it is so easy when you find someone who is living the way in which your authentic self, your highest self, the Holy Spirit, spirit that is within you sees like, holy cows, they are living, right? He is not experiencing a dream of death. Instead, I feel that he is truly living because he's just allowing every day for spirit to use him to move people, to remind people, to come together in collaboration. But it's easy for your ego to latch onto that and idolize that person. I mean, it's so common in personal development, and like the major new age spiritual movement is to spiritualize people, to idolize them. When in fact, Jacob, and I'm not discrediting his amazing talents he has, right? That he has at the level of form, but ultimately he's just like you and I. He has things he has to grapple with. It's just he has removed more of the barriers to love. Therefore, you can feel the love radiate off of him, and he can share very from this place of spirit. So it feels so intuitive and so like grand and amazing, when in fact it's super simple. It's exactly who you are when you remove the barriers to the truth. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what we talked about in this video. I was so just like in the zone. But I will say it was Jacob Collier. I could feel that. And amazing. Like I said, this is a series. I don't know how many videos it's going to be. I know for sure I'm going to come back and talk some more about different ways Jacob looks at things. There's actually a moment that I feel was a reflection of even Jacob's own barriers coming up. And it really resonated with me in a moment that I've had that happen as well. So we're going to just share, and I'm going to come share with you after I've gone to the concert and what that is just like to be in the presence of all of these people coming together, because we know his album is 100,000 Voices. He's all about the music of the audience and the audience coming together as one. And people say they feel moved after they leave, like they could hug the random guy next to them because they did it together. And people just, oh my gosh. Cullen and Samir, they even question, they're like, I don't know why I feel like I could cry when I hear this, or that I could hug this person. And my answer is, it's because spirit, you were connecting at the level of spirit. You had that moment of realization that we are one mind, that you are not separate from the guy next to you. You are not separate from Jacob. You just appear to be projected that way. So that was the movement you felt. That's the movement I think that Jacob reminds us all of. Like, he's found this way to remind us of this, I think he calls it like the ancient something, whatever, this deep remembrance that lies within us all. Oh, okay. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so that you can catch all upcoming Jacob videos. And again, we're looking at him through the lens of he is us. Like, we have the ability to be one with him. We have the ability to radiate the love like Jacob is. We're not using him as a guru to look up to, but to just really look at how day to day this is possible for every single one of us. So the first step I invite you to is look at those people that you've placed in a box, that you've idolized, that you have placed above yourself, that you believe their way of living is unobtainable. And really just take a moment to reflect on that and ask yourself why. Why do you think that they are in a place that is unobtainable for you? And is that really the narrative you want to live by? And then allow yourself to unpack that, to unpack what the narratives are that actually you are masking by placing that person somewhere else, so that you don't have to look at that mirror. So instead you can sit in your comfort and just like dismiss that is your potentiality, because that is what Jacob Collier is. And I'm sure there's many people in your life that you have placed in that role as well. Oh, so much love. That was Through the Lens for today. Jacob Collier edition. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. And as always, my friend, so much love. And remember, you are worth it. Bye-bye.